Meil on ainulaadne võimalus võtta vastu tervitus teiselt poolt maakera, nimelt Washingtonist. Meie president Toomas Hendrik Ilvese viibib parajasti Washingtonis. Ta sai endise, see on siis National Democratic Institute, demokraatia auhinna kodanikuühiskonna arendamisel ja kaitsmisel internetis. Ja see on ka põhjus, miks härra president hetkel ei saa viibida meie juures. Ka Ameerika Ühendriikide endine riigisekretär Madeleine Albright on Washingtonis ja nad on härra presidendiga koos.
Tere õhtust. Good evening from our side here. Good morning from Washington, D.C. We're genuinely thrilled to be participating from across the ocean at this very important conference where I can't be this year because I'm at a different conference with the National Democratic Institute. But we are committed across the ocean, across the world, to a fundamental freedom, the freedom of association, the right to associate with each other, which to my mind lies at the core of democracy and human rights. In Estonia's own history, the freedom of association, initially simply among peasants, grew up into full nation statehood because people came together and found they shared the same ideas and ideals. And we have seen the same up to this very moment all over the world throughout history. And right now we can see the same kinds of issues developing in Ukraine, in the Middle East. So it's freedom of association and the freedom of ideas to move across borders and between people lie at the core of Western liberal democracy, which never has to be Western. But liberal democracy is something that I think we all believe in. Madam Secretary?
Well, it's a great pleasure to be with you, Mr. President, and it's a great pleasure to address this very important conference. I do believe that the essential principle are human rights that allow all of us to be able to express ourselves. And may I say, Mr. President, you are here for more than a conference. You're here in order to get an award from the National Democratic Institute for your innovative spirit and your dedication to democracy. So it is my pleasure to be here with you especially. And I'm very glad that you can be with us, though I'm sure that they miss you at this conference. I do think some of the points that you already made in terms of the importance of the freedom of association. Authoritarian governments work their hardest to keep people separated from each other so that they cannot share any ideas. And the idea of freedom of association allows people to be able to talk to each other, to create groups of like-minded individuals, to have civil society function in a way where there is transparency and also the possibility of asking questions, of trying to figure out what makes for a better relationship between the government and its citizens. And so what you're practicing in every way through civil society is the capability of people to talk to each other. And obviously that is one of the great human rights. I have always argued we're all the same. All of us want to be able to express ourselves, to be able to use the most modern systems of communication to do that, but also old-fashioned ones of being able just to meet and talk to each other and have the capability. I think Estonia, through you, Mr. President, has had a remarkable history in terms of becoming a part of the European Union and NATO and being also a great leader in not only e-government, but also in democracy. And I'm, as chairman of the board of the National Democratic Institute, I am so grateful to you for hosting National Democratic Institute activities in Tallinn now for the region, because you're wonderful hosts, and also because I think it does provide an example of what can be done when people that can associate with each other are able to promote democracy generally and provide an incredible example. So I'm delighted. I'm sorry that we took you away, but I'm not sorry that we have the possibility of giving you this award, because nobody is more deserving than you.
Well, thank you for your kind words. One thing I did want to say is that we in Estonia, and this is, I think, a fairly broadly felt idea, feel an obligation that to promote the very thing that we had been denied for 50 years, and that when it is our chance to do something, we want to do it too. I know how important it was for us to know that people far away or living on the other side of the wall cared about what we were doing and helped us, and we shouldn't forget that. Some countries that used to be behind the wall no longer are suddenly sort of have decided to forget, but we feel a strong need to do our share, understanding how important it is that that we also help democracy spread, because it is what we were without, and we also know very well how difficult it is. I mean, even it's in our own benefit to have a security in Estonia is to have democracies around us. The other thing which I also wanted to just point out to the people in the conference is that the freedom of association sounds kind of like kind of a vague idea, but it is never a vague idea for authoritarians. The first thing they did in Estonia and in every other country where authoritarian rule has taken place is to basically ban civil society. I mean, to the extreme of deporting philatelists or stamp collectors, but which happened under Stalin. But more broadly, authoritarian regimes cannot tolerate the idea of independent discussion and people having their own ideas through talking to one another. Why else ban the Boy Scouts or the Red Cross or all the things that always get banned whenever authoritarian rule takes place or takes over? And we see the other side with the burgeoning of civil society. When you get democracy, it's just simply amazing to watch, and we see it. We saw it in our own country. We saw it all across Eastern Europe, and we are seeing it now, we hope, in many other places.
I do think democracy is not an event, it's a process. And I think it requires a lot of tender, loving care, and the idea that people really reach out to each other. When I was Secretary of State, I started something called the Community of Democracies, which was and still exists in terms of sharing best practices about what really does make democracies work. And obviously civil society is a huge aspect of it, a basic aspect. And Estonia, and you specifically, have done an amazing job in not forgetting and also kind of making clear that it is a process and it requires tender, loving care. And what I think is so important that people forget is, in order to have democracy work, you do have to have citizens that are more than consumers. They are people that care about however the government works and are able to criticize their government if that will move the process forward. I think governments shouldn't be afraid of criticism. It is what is a motivating factor, and civil society in many ways can provide that counterpoint, but you have made it even more accessible through what you've done through e-government, and generally allowing and encouraging people to move forward, and thereby have provided a basic human right, which is the capability of expressing one's views.
Well, we hope that other people elsewhere, from the Middle East to the Maidan, get to see this and take it to heart. And I'd like to also thank the Institute in Estonia that I guess is another example of the fact that we've considered our duty to continue to stand up for the issues that we felt so strongly about back when we didn't have the fundamental rights and freedoms, and that we don't forget that how cherished they are and how much we need to safeguard them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.